Keeper of the Lost Cities Neverseen, Chapter 14. It took Sophie several seconds to realize Dex's voice wasn't part of a dream. A few more after that, she caught the silhouette of him sitting on the edge of her bed. She gasped and pulled the covers around her neck, then remembered she was wearing her crazy pajamas. Dex looked just as furry, though his onesie was lime green. "What are you doing here?" she whispered, turning towards her wall of windows. A triangle of orange-gray light leaked in where the curtains parted slightly, so she assumed that meant it was dawn. "I had to show you this." Dex held up a gadget that looked like a gutted obscurer. The sphere had been sliced in half, and all kinds of stringy, coiled wires stuck out of the center. "I know it's ugly, but now it's a really powerful evader. It let me break into the Council's archives and find records on Exilium. And I know what you're going to say," he added quickly. "I know the Black Swan told us to drop it, but I think Exilium's worth looking into. If we can find the boy who disappeared, we might be able to find the Neverseen. Plus, I knew I could sneak in without getting caught. I'm sorry I didn't tell you first. I wasn't sure if we were being watched." "You are." They both yelped as Della blinked into sight near the curtains. "Don't tell me you thought I'd let you sneak into Sophie's room while she's asleep and not see what you're up to." "Good to know," Keith said, striding into the room in a red furry onesie. "And don't think I was going to allow a Sofex meeting to happen. Maybe we should call it Deefy. Sofex sounds weird. Anyhow, my point is, no secret meetings without me." "And me," Fitz said, trailing behind in furry gray pajamas. "I'm here too," Bianna appeared in the corner, wearing shaggy pink. "I followed my mom when she followed Dex." "Wow, it is really crowded in here," Sophie mumbled. "And really furry. Even Della had on a blue onesie that made her look like a cookie monster." "Cool. Your window is right across from mine," Keith said, opening Sophie's curtains. "We could throw things at each other." "Or not," Della herded everyone to the bed. "Sit. We need to discuss the incredibly dangerous thing Dex has done." "It wasn't dangerous," Dex argued. "I designed this evader perfectly." He held out the rickety gadget, and Della looked less than impressed. "Did you find anything good?" Bianna asked. "Hopefully. I got all their prodigy records," Dex said. "Well, Exilium calls them waywards, but it's the same thing. Every kid who's ever gone there has a file telling what year they were attending, who their family is, how old they are, and what their talent is, and what they got banished for. All kinds of stuff. So now we just need to go through and search for anyone who looks suspicious." "What counts as suspicious?" Della asked. "Well, we sort of know his age, right?" Dex said. "At least a pretty good guess. And we know he was probably at Exilium about 8 years ago. So, we'll start with that." "That's still going to leave you with hundreds of different boys," Della reminded him. "And even if you do find the candidate, what then?" "Then I break into the registry." "No, you do not," Della interrupted. "Don't worry, the registry is super easy to access, and I know how to make sure they don't catch me. Then I can cross-check any suspicious names against pendant locations to find out where they were." "You're assuming they'll be back in the Lost Cities," Della said. "I don't think you understand that Exilium is for the unworthy. It removes those who do not belong in our world. Anyone sent in error can earn their way back, but very few do. Very few should." Sophie wasn't sure she liked how casually Della talked about banishing, as if it were the perfect solution. Then again, was locking them up in exile better? "Well, I still think it's worth going through the record and seeing what we can learn," Dex said. "Even if we can't find the boy who disappeared, we might find a Neverseen member hiding there now." "Or it could be a waste of time," Della countered. "But it's our time to waste," Keith said. "And it's better than reading boring books. Do you know what I learned yesterday? That when our minds break from extreme guilt, they can shatter different ways. Most people shut down and can't function anymore, but that turns them erratic and reckless. Sometimes they even get violent." "That's important," Della told him. Sophie had to agree. That explained why Alden went catatonic over his involvement in Prentice's memory break, while Brant turned into a deadly pyromaniac after he killed Jolie. "Right. But how long did it take to explain? Keith asked. 10 seconds? 5? But it took me 329 pages to read. So yeah, I'll take searching through Exilium files any day. Della started pacing. What are the odds of you listening if I tell you not to pursue this? Slim to none, Keith said. That's what I thought. So fine, you already have the records. If you want to go through them, then I won't stop you. But no breaking into the registry without consulting me. Clear? Fine, Dex agreed. I'll build something so you guys can see the files I copied. Maybe if I rewire an imparter, I'd probably need gold instead of copper wire, and yeah, technopath stuff we don't understand, Keith jumped in. What do we do while you do all this stuff? How about we change out of these crazy outfits, Biana said. I mean, really, what was the Black Swan thinking? That if your pajamas were embarrassing enough, you kids would be discouraged from after-curfew meetings. Everyone scrambled as Mr. Forkle stalked into the room, followed by Granite and Blur. Clearly, our plan was not as successful as we'd hoped, Mr. Forkle said. Dare we ask what made you willing to suffer the furry disgrace? I think the better question is, what are you guys doing here so early? Keith countered. We promised we'd report to Kala as soon as we'd learned anything about the Wildwood, Granite said. And? Sophie asked. So far, there's been no change, but that's good news in some ways, Blur said. The gnome's symptoms seem to be holding steady. But they still don't have a cure, Sophie clarified. No, Mr. Forkle admitted, but we're working on it. They should have my dad try, Dex said. He's the best alchemist out there. I'm sure he'll be their next call. Right now, Lady Galvin is trying her hand, Granite said. Even months later, Sophie still flinched at the name. Her old alchemy instructor had made her first year at Foxfire equal parts humiliating and stressful. So, if all the best people are working on it, Sophie said, why haven't they found a cure? It comes down to isolating the pathogen, Mr. Forkle explained. They haven't been able to find the source, and without that crucial information, they don't know what to target. The physicians suspect each gnome is plagued by only a single parasite. So finding it is a bit like the old human expression about needles and haystacks. But at least they're not pressed for time. The gnomes have responded well to the symptoms treatment. So the need for a cure isn't as dire. His eyes drifted to the evader in Dex's hands, and his expression darkened. Please tell me that's not what I think it is. Or that you've at least had the common sense not to put it to use. Well, if you want me to lie, Dex mumbled. Mr. Forkle's sigh sounded more like a growl. This is about Exilium, right? I told you it wasn't worth the risk. But there was no risk, Dex said, pointing to a thinner wire on the evader. I call this a wiper. It erases every step I took, so there's no way the council will know I was there. Mr. Forkle took the gadget, examining it from all angles. Well, I am no technopath, and this is one of the more bizarre executions I've seen, but I must say, it's rather inspired. Blur took the evader and passed his smudged hands through. It's a totally different approach than anything I've felt, but maybe that's what we need. Dex looked ready to float away with the praise, and Sophie didn't blame him. After being underestimated his whole life, he deserved the recognition. Do not let our compliments overshadow our disappointment, Mr. Forkle said, bursting their brand-new bubble. When we give orders, we expect them to be followed. Not if they're dumb, Keith argued. I'm not going to debate this any further, Mr. Forkle said. He turned to Dex. I'd rather you focus your energy on a much more important assignment. He paused to confer with Blur and Granite before he continued. You have an incredibly unique approach to technopathy, Mr. Disney, and perhaps a fresh take can solve a problem we've been facing. For months we've been trying to gain access to a secret archive, Granite jumped in. In fact, secret isn't a strong enough word. It's an archive that should not exist. Our best technopath discovered it, but hasn't been able to breach beyond that. What kind of archive? Dex asked. We have no idea, Blur said. All we know is it's hidden in Luminaria. Della's eyes widened. Yes, Mr. Forkel told her. As I said, it should not exist. Luminaria is where all the worlds gather for crucial negotiations, he added when he saw Sophie's confusion. Any meeting there is not to be recorded, beyond the wording of the treaties. But it appears that someone has been transcribing the sessions. What kind of security are the files protected by? Dex asked. That's the strangest part, Blur told him. We'd assumed the archive was the Council's dirtiest little secret, but it's guarded by technologies from all the intelligent species. Dex whispered. So I have to hack ogre technology? And dwarven, and trollish, and goblin, and gnomish, and elven as well, Mr. Forkel confirmed. I didn't even know gnomes had technology, Bianca said. Not all technology comes in the form of gadgets, Blur reminded her. Which is why I think you'll be perfect for this, Dex. Only you would build a crazy evader like that. So, let's see what else you can do. And if you manage to gain access, Grin added, we'd like you to search the information on the Wildwood colony. The Council's silence on the plague has made us want to further explore the colony's history. I'll have supplies sent within a few hours, Mr. Forkel said, and we need to make this your #1 focus. No more wasting time on this. He shoved the evader into his pocket before turning to the rest of them. You have assignments and training to work through as well. I'd suggest you get started. Anyone else tired of the Black Swan bossing us around? Keith said, after they de-furried pajamaed and regrouped in the common room of the boys' treehouse. The room was decorated like a campsite, with indoor trees and a ceiling glinting with stars, and an enormous fire pit in the center. The flames burned in every color of the rainbow, and Sophie was sure the gnomes meant it just to be as stunning as the waterfall in the girl's house. But she would never see fire as anything but death and destruction. I think they just want to make sure everything goes right when we rescue Prentice, Bianca said. She was working with Della by the window, learning how to hold her invisibility in shifting light. It is annoying, though, Sophie mumbled, following Fitz to a clump of boulders that turned out to be beanbag chairs. Dex had fortunately been smart enough to save a copy of the Exilium records he'd stolen, and he'd promised to make a gadget they could use to search through them. In the meantime, it was back to Cognate training, and it felt extra nerve-wracking doing it in front of everyone. Dex had taken over most of the floor with tools and bits of gadget supplies, and Keith had slumped into a chair in the darkest corner, pretending to read another empathy book. Every few minutes he'd mutter, "This is the stupidest thing ever." "Should we start at the beginning?" Fitz asked, opening his Cognate training book. Sophie nodded. Piana hadn't been exaggerating about Cognates having to share everything. Each exercise was designed to make them reveal more and more secrets. The first assignment wasn't that bad, just a list of questions they were supposed to ask each other while their minds were connected, so that they could see each other's first thoughts. "Is it okay if I enter your mind?" Fitz asked. "Dude, you realize how creepy that sounds?" Keith interrupted. "It's less creepy than reading her feelings all the time without telling her," Fitz argued. "Hey, it's not like I try to do that. You're just mad that Foster can't hide things from me. Pretty soon, she won't be hiding things from me either." Yeah, and I can feel how not excited she is about that, all the way from over here. Fitz turned to Sophie. "Is that true?" "You make her super nervous," Keith answered for her. Sophie wished the Black Swan had given her laser eyes so that she could skewer Keith with a death glare. "I take it that's a yes?" Fitz asked. "Well, yeah, but have you met you?" she asked. "You're like Captain Perfect, and I'm the most powerful elf our world has ever known." Fitz finished. "Grady's way more powerful than me." "Grady is powerful," Della jumped in, "but not as powerful as you'd think." "How can you say that?" Sophie asked. "Grady made 12 counselors smack themselves in the face." Della laughed. "Wish I'd been there to see that. But I've seen him test his powers, and his limit was 24 people, and that left him drained and vulnerable. He can also only maintain his hold for so long. I'd assume that's why the Black Swan didn't make you a mesmer. Mesmers have limits, and their power rarely triggers a permanent solution. Did the council suddenly change their minds because of what Grady did? They backed down a little, but Della had a point. In the end, Grady still had to let her be sentenced to telepathy restrictor. Sophie gave Fitz permission, but before he could pass her blocking, Keith slammed down his book and shouted, "I refuse to read this." "The book can't be that bad," Della insisted. "Yeah, it is. My dad wrote it." "Your dad's a writer?" Sophie asked. "More like a torturer of innocent readers." He held up the cover as proof. "The Heart of the Matter, by Lord Cassius Sensen." It's just a long ramble about how he's the only one smart enough to realize that emotions come from both the heart and the brain, and that telepaths can only read what's in the mind. Too bad he forgot to explain why anyone cares. Sophie hoped Keith was far enough away that he couldn't actually tell that she found the idea fascinating. Counselor Bronte had taught her that inflicting pulled emotions from the heart, and Fitz had seen an emotional center in her mind. So, did that mean people could feel different things in different places? "Okay, I'm in," Fitz transmitted, making her jump. "Sorry, I thought you could feel me slip through." "Nope, I never know when you're there until you say something." "Is that how it is for you?" She stretched out her consciousness until she could feel his thoughts. "Did you feel that?" "I wish. I always catch everyone else. My old mentor said I should be a keeper someday. And the fact that you can sneak by me means you would make an awesome probe." "Huh. I always thought I was a keeper, since, secret information planted in my brain and all." "Well, I'm pretty sure you could be either one. Way to make the rest of us look bad." Sophie smiled. "If we're going to be cognates, do we each have to be a different thing?" "I think that's how it usually works. I know that's how it was for my dad and Quinlan." "They're cognates?" "They were, until they did a memory break on Prentice. Quinlan told my dad afterwards that he hadn't wanted to do it, and it turned into this big fight." "Huh. Your dad brought me to see Quinlan in Atlantis. They acted like friends." "They got over it eventually, but they couldn't go back to being cognates. The trust between them was breached, since Quinlan had proven he held things back." Sophie shifted in her seat. "Wow. It really freaks you out having to share everything, doesn't it?" "It doesn't scare you?" "Not really. You already know about Mr. Snuggles." Sophie laughed. "Yeah, but Mr. Snuggles is the best." Fitz had confessed about the sparkly stuffed dragon he couldn't sleep without during one of their previous trust exercises. He even brought it over to her house to cheer her up. "Did you bring him here?" she asked. "Of course. We'll see how long it takes before Keith catches me." "You don't care if he does?" "I thought I would. I even spent forever finding a good hiding place for him. But now, I don't care. There are way bigger things to worry about than a little embarrassment, you know? I mean, we're getting ready to break into Exilium." The words made her shiver. "So, what do you say?" he asked. "What do you mean?" "I mean, why not just blurt out whatever you're super embarrassed to tell me and get it over with? Wouldn't it be a relief? Or it could be the biggest disaster ever." It depended on how he felt. "How I feel about what?" Fitz asked, reminding her he could hear what she was thinking. "Come on," he begged as she scrambled to get her thoughts under control. "I promise, whatever it is, it's not going to change anything." "But it would. It had to." "Come on," he urged. "All you have to do is trust me." Sophie looked away, her brain and heart beating so fast she was sure she would soon implode. "How about you just blurt it out on 3, Fitz pressed. "You can do it. Here we go. 1, 2...